Hey, Disney adventurers. So good to see you today. It has been a long weekend. As some of you have seen in my post, What You Doing? This is Gina, by the way, one of the admins and founders with my husband Todd of the now the Disney Adventurers Tribe. Hope you're loving the new name. Taking me some time to get a hold of it, but I love the thought of tribal family. And I know what unites us here in this group is all of our love for Disney and adventure. Um, how did I get here? How did I start my addiction, if you will, and become so tribal when it comes to Disney adventures and family being centered around the whole love for Disney. I would love to say that I started, my family, my mom brought me when I was a kid to Disneyland and Disney World. But unfortunate for my childhood, compared to the fortunate for my kids' childhood, is I didn't really have an opportunity for many reasons growing up to go to Disney World or Disneyland. I remember my first trip to Disneyland was senior year. It was our senior trip to Disneyland. And I remember this was 1991. All right, I know I'm old. Don't do the math on how old I am. But I remember our trip to Disneyland. It was going to be my first trip, and it was our senior trip. And at Disneyland, In Vogue, okay, that's when they were a thing, was playing, and CNC Music Factory. We had some few other groups that were playing at Disneyland. As anybody who's been to grad night at Disneyland know that they invite a lot of music groups, and then so part of the whole Disneyland journey or adventure that that senior trip is to also see the music bands that were playing. So I remember that was my first exposure to Disneyland because I really didn't have any childhood trips there. And that's not where my addiction started, though. Shortly after, I probably visited once or twice as a young adult. I'm talking 22, 23 maybe. And I went with a sister who also, was going for the first time. She didn't get an opportunity to go her senior year. So anyway, Disneyland was a casual experience growing up in Southern California, where I grew up. It wasn't something that was so tribal for me as it is today. Um, and I'm so glad that my kids are growing up with many different Disney adventures. And a lot of what I'm recording today, as far as talking to you guys about, is about my Disney learnings and how to plan really awesome vacations and get everything that I hope for, including ADRs, or as some of you may know, ADRs is an acronym for Advanced Dining Reservations. But go back to my love for Disney and where that tribal addiction, that adventure spirit that only Disney could fulfill within me came from. So I remember I worked at Bank of America at the time. I had this team, a very large team, a lot of supervisors, and with a lot of teams and having a large team, you got diversity and interests and things of that nature. And one of my leaders would always be Team Disney and was always taking time off. Of course, would always ask me for time off to go to Disney, and I'm like, "What are you? I've been there. What are you talking about? All right, go ahead. If you must go." I really didn't connect with it. And so he came back, he came back from one of his vacations, and he had this book he created, apparently on the site called Shutterfly. And this is, my introduction to Shutterfly as well, how awesome it is. I ended up making my own book. But to give you a little bit more background on that. So he had this book he had. And so I'm like, okay, what's with this Disney thing? You're always asking for time off to go to Disney. And so I looked at this book he created on Shutterfly of his Disney vacation. He was at Disney World. And I'm going through the pages and I'm looking and I'm like, oh, look at that. Look at that? Oh my God, is that, and it was just the book, the pictures, like I was getting like giddy looking at some of the character meet and greets he had on film, some of the food. Okay, this is where the foodie started to come. I'm like, that looks so delicious and that looks like so much fun. And anyway, he was like, well, call this person, which was a travel agent for him at the time, and they can book your trips. I was like, I put it off for like a few weeks. And I was like, okay, let me see what this thing's about. So I went on the internet, and that's where I found Diz Unplugged, right? So I kind of blame Pete Werner and his team for my addiction as well, because I started looking at all of their videos before I booked, before I wanted to pull the lever and say, I'm going to go to Disney World too. I was just looking at all of these videos from Diz Unplugged. There was one video they did 7 and 7, and it was 7 resorts in 7 days that Pete and his team was doing, and they would visit each resort and give you the rundown of what they thought. So their favorite resort became my very first resort experience was Polynesian Village. So after many different videos on YouTube, joining some groups and kind of hearing about people's experience, I finally booked my first vacation. And I did a lot of research, a lot of YouTube video watching. And here I am, addicted as ever. It took one trip to take my kids. Haley at the time, my daughter, who's 8, was 2 at the time. And it was her first trip. And then my son, who was 6. And so I get to say, or they get to say, unlike my childhood, since she was 2 and since he was 6, they are growing up with Disney. So many Disney adventures later, we had the great pleasure as a family and the blessed lives of being able to have all types of Disney adventures. We're talking, we went on a Disney cruise. Halloween on the high seas is phenomenal. If you guys ever do a first cruise, try Halloween on the high seas. If you're a big Halloween fan, you will love this cruise. It's absolutely magical. Then we, of course, our first trip to Disney World, got hooked on the Polynesian Village Resort. And we had our first dining experience, which was at Spirit of Aloha. I have learned to never book a dining show the day you fly in and check in. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But needless to say, Disney Aulani, we had several great trips in the last year. Again, the Halloween on the high seas. We got to visit Disney World, and we went to Aulani for the first time in January. We had the great pleasure of also going to Disneyland on the Disneyland website. When you log in as an AP holder, it actually clocks how many times your AP is used per day. So we've been in Disneyland because we usually only do one land per day. So we have been between Disneyland and Disney California Adventure in the last year over 54 times now. So a lot of Disneyland, and I have perfected my ability to really plan an awesome day at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. And I've learned about a lot of the eateries and the fine dining versus the really quick snacks and where to go to. So I'll be doing a lot more posts about those things. But also, Aulani is one of my favorite things to do now. We went for the first time in January, and we'll be going again in the next 23 days. And so excited about that. So now I'm planning excursions because we didn't do that before. When we went to Aulani, we just wanted to enjoy the resort and all of the wonderful food at Ama Ama and Makahiki and the Ulu Cafe, which is so phenomenal. And then my kids enjoying actually swimming with the saltwater fish, which is a wonderful experience if you ever get to do it. The infinity pools, the beach, just walking along the resort has been a phenomenal experience. Having some of the wonderful Hawaiian eats. The Loco Moco is one of my favorite breakfast items to get. I'll do a post about that. I think I've done one, but I'll do a refresher as we're going to be going there. We'll be doing a lot more videoing when we're there. Then I'm so excited about just taking part of more excursions. Like, so leaving the resort, driving off on our own, as well as doing an excursion sponsored by Disney, where we can visit the Dole Plantation, which is home of some of the Dole pineapples, and you get to sample Dole whips and things of that nature right on their plantation. So I'm really, really excited about that, and so excited to share that with you guys. But what brought me here today? Okay, so lately I belong to some really awesome groups. Disney Radicals, mwah, I love that group. Disney DNA podcast family, love you guys, Trent, Jenny, and your beautiful girls. You guys are phenomenal. I'm so happy with a lot of the interactions that I have with those two groups. Specifically because I get to interact with the founders of those groups, and they are phenomenal. Holly and Andre, you guys rock. But what brought me here? Okay, so being a part of different groups and seeing some of you guys even post some of your angst around ADRs, advanced dining reservations. Okay, so a lot of times I see people struggle with getting some of the more difficult to get CRT, Cinderella's Royal Table, Ohana Dinner, Ohana Breakfast, very hard to get. Be Our Guest, we all know, that it is so difficult to get. What is now even more difficult to get than a lot of them is two particular ADRs that I was able to get, and I'm going to talk strategy and how I was able to get them. Is the Artist Point, the Snow White experience. Thank you, Andre and Holly. Watching their video on their YouTube channel, has allowed me to see the offerings and the experience, and that's why I booked it. And per the cast member at the reservation center, that is one of the most difficult ones to get, as well as California Grill brunch. California Grill dinner is already hard to get in itself, but brunch is even harder, and let me tell you why. And I might be preaching to the choir here, but you guys all probably already know. But California Grill brunch is only available one day a week, Sundays. And of course, it's only between 10 and 1 or 2 o'clock. Don't quote me on the end time, but they don't usually, they have no lunch reservations. It's either brunch or dinner or just dinner. Again, California Grill brunch is only one day a week, and that's on a Sunday. So I have never not been able to get it. Another difficult one, Cinderella's Royal Table. I have never not been able to get it. Another difficult one, and this is mainly difficult during Thanksgiving week, and specifically on Thanksgiving Day, is Liberty Tree Tavern. I have never been able to get it. I have always been able to get it. I think every reservation, difficult, no matter how difficult, I have had the great luck, blessing, whatever you want to call it, in getting it. And I'll tell you how. And a lot of it is strategy and understanding how the system works, and kind of try to not beat the system, but kind of work within it. And I'll talk about some of those things now. And another thing too and you'll hear a little bit about as I talk about my strategy around getting difficult to get ADRs, is they haven't released the tables yet. A lot of times and there's only been 2 times I wasn't able to get an ADR on my 180 day out, tip 1. Difficult to get reservations, 180 day. If you're not booking on that day within the first couple of hours of booking window online, right? Online booking window opens 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's 7 a.m. at the reservation center over the phone. So you're better with logging onto your computer, and I'm telling you, this is how I do it, and I call it ADR Eve. It's kind of like Christmas Eve, where you get really anxious and you hope you get what you ask for. So that's how I treat my ADR. So I build my list. By the day, right? Day 1 at Disney, day 2 at Disney, day 3 at Disney. But that's not how I book. And I'll tell you why. And again, I might be preaching to the choir because some of you master planners, friends like Jenny Caluette, she's definitely if a Disney planner had a rank, uh, Jenny from Disney DNA podcast would be like captain. She is phenomenal with planning. But one great thing about planning with ADRs, because let me tell you, folks, for me and my family, Disney dining as is just as critical to our vacation as the rides and the shows and the experiences that you get while in the parks. I mean, we make dining a part of that adventure, if you will. And so it is really important to me that I get everything that I want, because a lot of the character experiences we have, case in point, a lot of the dining that I do, advanced dining planning, is around the character dining or the the dining shows. So, but ADR Eve, you get your list, you do it day by day. That's just to keep yourself, okay, what park am I going to be in? So I'm going to do these ADRs because I need this amount of timing based on when I plan to be in the parks or where I'm going that day. So if I know that day is a non-park day and I'm going to go to Disney Springs, all of my ADRs, and I try to book one a day. When I first started this Disney journey, I used to book 3 sit-down ADRs a day because we always did the deluxe dining plan in order to make it work. Now I have learned, now that I'm a veteran, it takes too much away from the fun when you're going from table service to table service to table service. Don't do that anymore. So now I just stick to ADRs that are really meaningful, that have really awesome dining experiences, that yield the best results when it comes to character interactions, like 1900 Park Fair, Chef Mickey's Brunch, and some of the dinner shows, Hoop-de-Doo being one. So now I just book those kinds instead of just booking a table service and random things like Tony's Restaurant. As you can see, I'm wearing my shirt today. It's not my favorite restaurant, by the way. This is an ironic shirt to wear. But anyway, so we're ADR Eve, right? We're an ADR Eve, and we know that in the morning we're gonna have to be at our computers at 6:30 a.m. And why are we at our computers instead of waiting for the phone lines? Because the computer online, the My Disney Experience ability to book opens at 6:30. The phone lines don't open till 7. So if you wait to call somebody, you're gonna be waiting 30 minutes of somebody booking those difficult to get ADRs. So if you want to get something like California Grill, it is nearly impossible, and might I say, magic happens every day. So I've seen people get California Grill 4 days out from vacation. That's because someone, canceled last minute and ahead of their trip, or canceled the trip altogether. But anything's possible, but it becomes less probable. So I would say there are a few dining reservations from a strategy perspective that you're no longer going to look at your ADRs from a day by day. Now you're going to do it by difficult to get, and you're going to be all over the place, and that's okay. So you'll book your day 4 before you book your day 1. And that's okay, because if your day 4 is where your California Grill brunch lands, you need to go for that first. So let me tell you, so it's 6:29. Matter of fact, no, it's 6:28 a.m. on ADR day, right? Phone lines open, or the online opens at 6:30. At 6:25, 6:26, whatever time you need, and most of you probably have Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, I would bring up my browser, and most browsers have tabs. So I would sign on to My Disney Experience and create a tab for every restaurant that you have on your list. So have all your tabs open. So all you have to do after you book your first one, go to the next tab. You don't have to go back to dining reservations, find your restaurant. All of that time, somebody's stealing. They're taking your reservation, and you got to get it. and I'm rooting for you. So, strategy, guys. We want ADRs. We want California Grill brunch, right? We want Artist Point Snow White experience. We want what else is difficult? Cinderella's Royal Table. We want for breakfast and lunch. A difficult Ohana dinner, Ohana breakfast, be our guest. Those are difficult ones. Ones that you can kind of just chillax a little bit. You do it, but you can get this like 90 days out. It's stuff like Kona Cafe and Skipper's Canteen and things like that. You don't have to rush so much and you don't have to create a tab for it. You can for convenience. I'm always ready on ADR day. So I'm logged in, right? I'm logged into each tab as well, right? Making sure that each tab I'm completely logged in, password and everything. Each tab will have every restaurant I'm looking to book. Now, my first couple of tabs, my first tab, and I'm going to tell you how I did it for my November trip. And I got everything I wanted at every time I wanted it. Was my first tab was the California Grills brunch. You know why? Because it's only available one time my entire trip. It's only available Sundays. And I wanted to get there at 10 a.m. because it's a brunch. So I wanted to act as my breakfast and my lunch. So, and I knew that the first parties to come in at 10 a.m. usually get a really, really good table. So I was strategic. I wanted 10 a.m. and I got it. I got California Grill. When I logged in, that was my first tab. Boom, 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 done. On to my second tab. Already up, restaurant. Guess what my second tab was? And this came from a cast member a couple of days before, so I was doing some reconnaissance, some research, and finding out how difficult Artist Point was gonna be to get. So they said that was just up there with California Grill CRT, if not actually more difficult than CRT. So I said, okay, that's my second tab. Why I didn't make it my first tab versus my second tab, while the priority of those tabs, although they were both equally difficult, Artist Point is every day. California Grill brunch is one shot Sunday. That's it. And so that became my strategy. Even though it landed like 4 days within my trip, it wasn't my first day. Because remember, guys, we're not going to complete our ADRs based on by day. It's by level of difficulty and availability. So my strategy was have all my tabs open to every restaurant based on my strategic sequential order that I needed them in based on difficulty. So after I booked my California Grill brunch, got it, boom, I was on the Artist Point. Got the time that I wanted, plenty of times available, book that, boom, select my next tab. My next tab at the time, what was my most difficult second? Ohana dinner. Now, another strategy I want to talk about. A lot of people don't think about this, and it took a cast member kind of bubbling up this revelation, even with my supreme planning skills. Didn't really realize the more difficult to get restaurants that you plan at the head of your vacation, the more difficult it's going to be. Case in point, the 180 day out was, somebody had 180 day out yesterday, right? So a lot of times people book a lot of stuff at the tail end of their vacation or in the middle. So if that is so, then the beginning of mine, stuff may not be available. So I would say be prepared for the more difficult to get ADRs to increase the maximum probability of getting them is to make sure that it's not your day one or day two. So Ohana dinner, during the time that we go, is difficult because it's during the holidays and kids are out of school or starting to get out of school. So I knew the probability of me getting that is more feasible if I choose the second day or the third day, right? Or mainly maybe third day through whatever day, the end day you're there. So also think about that. Start to think about, it is probably unlikely because there are a few people or hundreds of people who had 180 day out just yesterday or the day before, may have booked those toward the middle or end of their trip. So think about that. So like my Artist Point is in the middle of my trip. It wasn't, it was I believe day 5 or day 6 of my trip, because I knew that was going to be difficult to get. Ohana breakfast is difficult to get, as well as Ohana dinner. Those are also far into my trip. So I make sure that what's front loaded is fairly easy to get things. I can eat at Kona Cafe anytime. Chef Mickey's, believe it or not, it's easy to get. And so if I want to do a Chef Mickey's brunch, which I prefer over any meal, brunch is phenomenal. If you guys haven't had a Chef Mickey's brunch, you are missing out. One, you have the whole gang there. It is so much fun. You're tossing the napkins, the dinner napkins, and singing. But the food choices, because you have breakfast and lunch, they don't skimp on flavor. They don't skip on food choices. Chef Mickey's is by far outside of California Grill, is one of the best brunch experiences I've ever had. And I love it over breakfast or dinner. I think they do breakfast still. But brunch is the thing. It is the jam, as I always say. But yeah, you can get those. So I would front load something like Chef Mickey's in the front. I would front load if you're going to do a 1900 Park Fair, a Tusker House. All of those I would front load, because the probability of getting them at the beginning of your trip, it's there. You'll get those. Boma, you'll get it. Sanaa, you'll get that. Via Napoli, you'll get those at the beginning of your trip anytime. But again, your California Grill brunch, oh my God, I cannot tell you guys how phenomenal California Grill brunch is, and California Grill dinner. But brunch at the top, oh my gosh, the choices, the sushi. Oh, if you're a sushi fan, oh, you have got to go. But needless to say, that is one that you want to try to load in the middle. Artist Point, you might get lucky. Like I said, anything is possible. It is whether it's probable that becomes a little bit more sticky. So reservations that you must do 180 day out. If you want them anywhere in your vacation, Cinderella's Royal Table, California Grill, Artist Point, the Snow White. What else, guys? Be Our Guest. Now it's easier to get a lunch for some reason, but breakfast seems to be if you try to do it, 30 days out, it's a little bit hairy. But at 180 days out, you can pretty much get a breakfast. You can get a lunch. It might not be at the preferable time that you like, but those are the ones that you want to strategically put in those tabs I talked about. So Cinderella's Royal Table, like I said, California Grill, Artist Point. I'm repeating myself, but I'm just trying to make sure I'm staying on point. Be Our Guest, dinner as well, the Plaza. Oh my God. So I thought that was an easy ADR. For some reason, the Plaza is not for lunch. Well, it's easy in a way that you can get it 160 days out, but it gets more and more difficult for some reason. I have never tried the Plaza, but we're trying it this year, so I'm so excited about that. Another difficult to get ADR for dinner, and it is only difficult, I know, during the holidays, and it is Liberty Tree Tavern. Now, every year that we go, and we're going during Thanksgiving week, it is our family's tradition to eat at Liberty Tree Tavern for dinner. Why? The obvious. The Patriots platter, which is super delicious, but it reminds you of Thanksgiving. You have the turkey and roast beef, and you have all the trimmings of stuffing and the gravy boat, and mashed potatoes and mac and all of these cranberry stuffing, all of that wonderful stuff. So Liberty Tree Tavern for us was a critical part of my tabs I talked about, right? So I had California Grill, Artist Point, Cinderella's Royal Table for breakfast. I had Ohana dinner. I had Liberty Tree Tavern. These were my order of things. And then I had Be Our Guest dinner, I think. Did I already mention that? But needless to say, booking ADRs, the difficult ones, to make probability more possible for you, I encourage you to one, do the 6:30 a.m. online booking on your own. Have your tabs ready, whether you're using Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, whatever you're comfortable with using, whatever browser you use. Have it pre-set up on ADR Eve, and have it set up not just by day, but actually by difficult to get. Um, I promise you, if you do it 180 day out, there's not a reservation you won't get. Reservations you can get 90 days out. Hoop De Doo Review, Spirit of Aloha, like I said, Chef Mickey's, um, Skipper's Canteen, which we love to go, Tiffin's, which I'm trying for the first time this year, Sanaa, Boma. Some of the ones that you might want to do, you don't have to do it 180 day out, but as soon as you know you want to go, is Via Napoli, Akershish. Akershish is like the more cost effective CRT experience, right? You don't get the castle, you're in Norway, at Epcot instead of the Magic Kingdom in the Cinderella's castle, but you're meeting all the princesses just like you meet at CRT. Akershish is a different type of experience. Things are served family style and buffet style, wherefore when you're at Cinderella's royal table, you're ordering from a menu, whether it's and it's a pre-selected menu. So you're ordering some items predetermined, and you just decide what you want. Don't it The lunch for the adults at CRT, don't like it very much. Adore the breakfast. Never had dinner there. One day. Always had dinner at Be Our Guest because I love meeting the beast. But needless to say, some of the less difficult to get Kona cafes, those can wait. 1900 Park Fair, Tusker House, albeit that the food is wonderful. The buffets are nice. Those you don't have to book between 180 day and 170 day. I mean, 165 days out, they'll be available. But this was more about the strategy of ADRs. Keep trying, keep refreshing your screen. There's a term called release the tables. There's two times, and I think I talked a little bit about it early in the video, and I said I would get to it again, is about the term release the tables yet. Did they release the tables yet? Liberty Tree Tavern is notorious at 180 day out, for some reason delaying releasing the tables. So it'll appear that there's no bookings available. Like I was 180 day out this year, and I got the Liberty Tree Tavern on Thanksgiving at 6:00 p.m. I got it, no easy peasy lemon squeezy, as my kids would say. No problem. But the previous year, when we went during spring, I was 108 days out. I'm like, this is Liberty Tree. I should be able to get this. And so I did my online thing, and it was hard to book. It was like not there. It was showing me. I'm like, no way. All of the tables are gone. So I end up calling the reservation center. This is after I booked everything, got all my strategy out of the way, and it was just this one hanging in the wind. So I called the reservation center, and needless to say, they end up calling Liberty Tree, the restaurant, and got a hold of a cast member there and found out they hadn't released the tables for my date yet. And that to keep checking throughout the day that they should eventually release the tables. Well, they didn't release the tables until 3 days later, but I was like on it because literally, like I said, Liberty Tree Tavern is more important for us during the holidays. This was spring break, but we still love it. The Patriot platter for your family is just, very good. Magnifico. But anyways, I said this video is going to be only 10 minutes long. But I love talking to you guys. I love my fellow adventurers here in this group. I love being a part of this group. I love sharing all of my ideas, all of my experience, all of the pictures that our family takes, whether we're at Aulani or Disney World or Disneyland lately, our Disney cruise. I love all of the Disney adventures that we take as a family, and I love sharing them with you all. I love seeing your videos. It is so important for me to see your pictures, your videos, and seeing you guys interact in the group is so important to me because the reason why we created the group, my husband and I, after our first trip to the Polynesian Village Resort, um, our first Disney World trip. Okay, I'm not gonna cry on you guys, but um, we knew the feelings that we were getting the moment I stepped onto Main Street. Guys, I cried. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, but I did. I cried because it felt like it felt like an experience that I didn't have because I didn't have it as a child, and I was with my children, and I felt like a need. And I think why I probably go to Disney a billion times a year is like one, I'm making up for lost time for myself, but it's almost like I want to give my kids a billion Disney experiences to live so that they can have that in their core, um, so that they can also make that a part of their family. And I just hoped, that my kids would love it as much as I did, and thank God they did. Um, but they kept, sometimes they would get bored. That's why we started adding different adventures. Like, after a few trips to Disney World, okay, Mom, what else? We started Disney Cruise and Aulani, and now we're gonna do a Disney adventure soon. Hopefully to either Japan or Paris or one of those. By with the Disney, was it Disney Adventures by Disney or Adventures by Disney? But anyways, I love this group. I love all of you adventurers who love going to the parks. Some of you have the great, great pleasure of going to the parks each and every day, whether you're Disneyland AP holders or Disney World AP holders. I want to thank every admin in this group: Ryan, Beth, Jennifer, Connie, even old admins who have come back and who are part of the group, Jen, Levy, wonderful. Anthony, Team 7, enjoy you so much. All of the content that, you guys are bringing to the group. I love it. I love this group. I love this tribe. I love this family. Whatever you believe it to be, I hope that this group gives you all that you need to help you with your planning or to help you remember all the wonderful things you experienced at the parks. But that is my time, guys. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how did I get here, and the ADR strategy. How to best get everything that you need is 180-day out, guys. Front loading your ADRs in those tabs, doing the 6:30 a.m. online versus waiting at 7 a.m. With the cast members. But most of all, whether you're booking an ADR, have fun. Have fun. And thanks for stopping by and letting me talk to you for a little bit. I hope your Sunday is off to a wonderful start. And I know a lot of you guys are watching football. Go team, whatever that team is for you. But until next time, see you guys later. Mwah. To infinity and beyond.